Hello and welcome. This is Zoey Gold. If you feel that you are a people's pleaser, if you are afraid of rejections, of being heard, if you really need acceptance and approval of other people, this can be limiting to you. And this particular training, I want to dedicate to this particular topic. So you will find it very, very useful. Now we're going to take a look at why actually people have this need for approval and acceptance, and why it feels so painful for some to experience it when it doesn't happen the way that they would like it to happen. What's the underlying pattern or cause behind it, and how you can actually stop it and be free and be you. So let's start with the basic idea and where this need for approval stems from. So we talked about these two underlying patterns that are really actually responsible not only for these unpleasant feelings of being rejected or not being approved or accepted, but also for you not being able to get results and have truly lived the life to the fullest, the way you want it to be, the life that you're made for, and do what you're actually meant to, and have the bliss and joy in doing that. So that pattern is, I am not lovable and I don't love me. When the person has that, and to some extent, I would say many people actually are kind of involved in this with this pattern, right? So when the person has this pattern, it leads to this kind of belief or an idea that I'm not good and I'm not enough. And if the person feels that he or she is not good and not enough, that also leads to a few things. It leads to fear, of course, fear if you're not good, that fear of punishment, and also if I'm not enough, a fear of not being loved. Now, I'm not enough and fear of being loved leads to this need to deserve love. And many people do it in different ways. For some, they become overachievers. And again, there is nothing wrong in achieving things. But what's the driving force behind it? And what's the reason why you're doing what you're doing? So the need to deserve love can be in trying to please others, in trying to achieve something, to be somebody, to get something, etc. Also, if the person feels or believes that I'm not good, I'm not enough, that leads to fear. And we talked about those two fears. And fear always leads to protectiveness, because you're trying to protect yourself from unwanted things. You try to avoid something that you believe will be unpleasant. And that fear, with fear, it's like if you come from fear, if you feel fear, then you're not really thinking clearly, and you operate from aberration. You do not see the truth. And that leads to you focusing on unwanted. So, for example, if you really, really, really don't want this to happen, and you really, really, really wanted that to happen, so you attach importance to a particular outcome, and it's also crucial for you not to experience or to have the other outcome, then, and plus there is fear there and trying to avoid and protect yourself from that. So you focus on unwanted. And I know we talked about it. It's just a refreshment and how you can apply it here. Now, when you focus on unwanted, basically what happens when you communicate with unwanted, you don't have what you actually want, or you have unwanted. So that is pretty obvious and pretty clear. Now, let's talk more about this need to deserve love. So the question here is, why, if that's the case with you, why are you looking so much for for this approval, for acceptance of other people. So you want to be seen, you want to be loved, you want to be appreciated, you want to be accepted, etc. These are normal desires and normal things. But why does it feel so unpleasant, at least, or even maybe hurtful, when you do not get it? Or look at this. There are different rules. So different people have different rules about what it actually means to be accepted, to be approved. For some people, if the other person looks at them in a particular way, that means that they're being rejected. Even though that person maybe didn't even mean that. For some people, a particular word or particular gesture could mean that they're not approved or accepted or loved or appreciated. For others, it's a particular action, a particular tone of voice, and other things. So keep in mind that there are also rules that you constructed throughout your physical lifetime for whatever reasons. Maybe you observed someone, maybe you've been through some different life experiences that helped you come up with the conclusions that you did that created these rules about what it actually means to be appreciated, to be accepted, to be approved or not, right? So that's the first thing that shows you that you are actually doing it, because these are your rules and that's how you perceive others, all right? So another question is, why is then it so unpleasant or hurtful when for some reason you perceive that you are not being accepted, not loved? That leads to that, right? Not being accepted, not being approved, so not getting enough admiration, not getting enough love from people that you want, or even sometimes from strangers, from somebody that you just met. First of all, it is important to understand that you are doing it and to become aware of it. So, for example, if somebody even, let's say they actually meant it, they were mean to you or they didn't approve of you, or maybe it was, like a friend or a close person or a lover or a parent, a father, it doesn't really matter. With their actions, with their words, with whatever they did, for some reason, they did not approve, did not accept, or even rejected you. In that moment, you focused in a way that portrayed yourself in a particular light. So it's not them, because you see here, if you didn't care at all about what they said, or if you were able when they were talking to turn, like if you were watching a TV, to turn it off or to turn the volume down that you could see or hear that, you wouldn't care. Even though that person would say it and mean it and think it, it doesn't matter. So it's not really them. It's you, by looking at them, created a particular meaning in your mind about yourself that you didn't like or didn't want to have. It's actually you who focused in a particular way about yourself, gave yourself maybe some, kind of like a shade of identity, or some kind of, maybe it's, it even reinforced your old belief about yourself or triggered some old pattern or perspective about you. So, and these patterns, these perspectives, you were not born with them. You learned it and you shaped this worldly identity. And why I say worldly, because the true identity of you is magnificent. You extensions of source energy, your spiritual DNA is perfect. You are this magnificent divine being. That's who you truly are. But while you lived here and you came here and to play this beautiful game, and you reduced your knowingness when you came here to actually have these beautiful life experiences. So, and along your physical path, because of interaction with others, because of some things that you went through, some things that you learned, you kind of shape this worldly identity of yours, your perspective, your beliefs, your rules about you, about yourself. And the strongest force in human behavior and in whatever is actually influencing the results that you're having and the quality of life that you're having is your identity. It's your perception about you. It's your beliefs about you. It's your perspective about you. It's how you feel about you. It's what you think and believe and feel about your abilities, about things that you can do, things that you were able to do, things that you have, things that you don't have, and where you're going. So all of that was conditioned and learned, and some of it may be very helpful and beneficial to you, and some of it is not. So coming back to what we were talking about in a moment here. So when the person comes at you, when the person maybe even in some way you feel rejected or not accepted, it's you in that moment, because of that situation, because maybe of some external influence like the other person or the circumstances, you focus in a particular way. You think that thought because you cannot get in the head of that person and feel bad about yourself. You're doing it within you. You focus in a way that is not truly aligned with who you truly are. That's why you feel negative emotion. That's why it feels unpleasant or even painful. Because when your perspective is in alignment with who you truly are, with the higher and broader perspective of who you truly are, then you feel good. You have the positive emotion because your inner system, your inner guidance system, your feelings show you how close you are to alignment with who you truly are and with the good that you desire. And your negative feelings show you that you're going in the wrong direction with your focus with what you are doing internally. So in that particular moment, when you feel those unpleasant emotions, you feel rejected, you feel hurt, it's because you, no matter what the reason is, focusing in a way about yourself, that person, the particular situation you're in a way that is not in alignment with perspective of source, with that higher, broader part of your perspective about you. And you feel that discord and you feel the offness of that situation. But the most important thing here is to understand that you are doing it. And yes, in many cases, it can be very easy to be influenced by what's going on outside of you. But it is still your reaction, your perspective towards it. Now, if we look even deeper at that person who, let's say, even said something bad or something mean to you or did something mean, who that person really is also this magnificent, beautiful, divine being. That's the truth about them. That's at the level of their soul. So when they are acting in any other way than true representation of who they really are, they are acting from data, from memories replaying in them, from that mental garbage in them. And when you perceive that in a hurtful way, when you think about you in a way that is painful, when you think about them in a way that is painful and the situation in a way that is unpleasant, you are coming from your data as well. Memories replaying in you, information replaying in you. Because if you were looking at him or her and at the situation and at yourself and the circumstances from the perspective of source, through the eyes of source, the only thing you would see perfection behind illusion, and you would feel the only feeling that would be, that's love, and the whole array of positive emotions that can be summed up in this word. One word, love, the flowing of life, flowing of love for them, for you, for the circumstances, for your present, for your past, for your future, and appreciation. And all those beautiful, delicious feelings that you can feel when you truly live this life to the fullest. So when when two people are arguing or expressing this, what we call negativity or feeling, it's negative, right? It's this data that is speaking in them, that you hear it, and it's data in you that actually hears it. So it's data in them who speaks it, and it's data in you that hears it. So it goes through that prism of that conditioning. And if you really understand that you are doing it, so you can stop it, and no matter what they say, like, you can be very intelligent here. You can modify your behavior according to the way you want it to be. If you're coming, when you're, and I believe you are coming from this perspective of being being in the higher good of yourself and others, right? So you can modify your behavior. You can be very intelligent and say to yourself that maybe this is not the way how you want it to be in the future, or what the things that you want to change and modify. That's an intelligent addition to that. But in that moment, you can stop your perception about you that is not true, that creates pain in you. And what can also help you is this idea that maybe you've heard many times, but I want to emphasize it even more today, is that true appreciation, acceptance, love, and approval of yourself. Because when you have that to the fullest, when you have that to the level that it actually is in reality, when you know it, when you tap into the truth within you, when you know your true identity, when you know who you truly are, you know it, you are it. Nothing on the outside can convince you otherwise. And if you hear something, somebody else say something or do something, it does not trigger you. Because what happens if the other person does not approve you, it triggers that belief in you that you are not enough. Because you do not love and appreciate and admire and approve of yourself the way you should. Because if you did, no matter what the other person would say, would matter. And like, for example, if you have a child, or you can imagine you have a child, right? Or you have somebody, like, you love this person so much. You know their goodness. You know them at a soul level. You know them. And if somebody else told you that your child, or the person that you truly love and truly know them for years, and you know their goodness, different bad things about them, you wouldn't care. Like, if the data triggered that in you, you might be protective and fight with that person and try to convince them otherwise. But I mean, you would not believe them. You would not feel those bad feelings towards the person that you love. You would not believe that they're not enough, etc., 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 because you know. Now with you, it's even more powerful because it's you. No one knows you. Like, you can love the other person, but you're still in yourself, so you cannot feel for them, you cannot think for them, you don't know them that much as you know yourself. And if you really tap into that knowing within you that is there, that comes from time to time, because it feels like there are two ideas, right? Like, one, you know you're good, you know you're magnificent, you know it deep within you, otherwise you would not be listening to this, otherwise you would not be looking for the answers. You know it. And at times the data bubbles up and comes up, and you doubt, and you feel pain, and you feel like failure, and you feel like you lost something, and etc., etc., etc. So it is time to look deeper, to tap into that essence that in you, deep down there, that knowingness, that wisdom, that infinite intelligence within you. Tap into that. Stay with that. Thank your mind because it's a beautiful tool, but live from your soul. Live from your knowing. Live from that feeling because you know how it feels. In the moments when you were the happiest, in the moments when you were the most successful in your life, you were operating and tapping into some extent into that knowingness within you. And now is the time to let go of all other things, all other data, all other garbage, and really, truly be who you truly are. Not just knowing it, but being it. I hope this was helpful. It was my pleasure being with you today. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.